This is a read aloud, an instructional read aloud of The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, chapter 4. I am reading with the permission of Simon and Schuster. Um, and this is for you. We're going to be using our signposts and thinking about characterization, right? We just learned about characterization. And so we're going to be thinking about the characters and how Angie Thomas shows us the characters. We'll be looking for the clues. All right. That night, Natasha tries to convince me to follow her to the fire hydrant, and Khalil begs me to go for a ride with him. I force a smile, my lips trembling, and tell them I can't hang out. They keep asking, and I keep saying no. Darkness crawls toward them. I try to warn them, but my voice doesn't work. The shadow swallows them up in an instant. Now it creeps toward me. I back away, only to find it behind me. I wake up. My clock glows with the numbers 11:05. I suck in deep breaths. Sweat glues my tank top and basketball shorts to my skin. All right. And I'm stopping there because I'm having a schema moment and I'm noticing that she's traumatized, right? She's having total PTSD, nightmares and sweating. It's all PTSD symptoms. And so, she's suffering. It's really traumatic to have witnessed what she witnessed. Sirens scream nearby, and Bricks and other dogs bark in response. Sitting on the side of my bed, I rub my face, as if that'll wipe the nightmare away. No way I can go back to sleep. Not if it means seeing them again. My throat is lined with sandpaper and aches for water. When my feet touch the cold floor, goosebumps pop up all over me. Daddy always has the air conditioning on high in the spring and summer, turning the house into a meat locker. The rest of us shiver our butts off, but he enjoys it, saying, "A little cold never hurt nobody." A lie. I drag myself down the hall. Halfway to the kitchen, I hear Mama say, "Why can't they wait? She just saw one of her best friends die. She doesn't need to relive that right now." I stop. Light from the kitchen stretches into the hallway. "We have to investigate, Lisa," says a second voice. Uncle Carlos, Mama's older brother. "We want the truth as much as anyone else." Now I'm getting a new character, and so I'm going to highlight because I want to make sure I don't forget the relationships here, and he's probably going to be important. And he's saying we have to investigate. So now I'm already wondering, like, who is the we? Is he a police officer, right? I'm asking that question. And it's sort of making a prediction for myself. And one of the reasons I want to do that when I'm reading is to help me stay engaged, right? So now my brain is looking for the answer to that. And I'm getting more details about his character. All right. And again, he's using this we word, right? I'm noticing that. So we want the truth as much as anyone else. "You mean y'all want to justify what that pig did?" Daddy says. "Investigate my ass." "Maverick, don't make this something it's not," Uncle Carlos says. "A 16-year-old black boy is dead because a white cop killed him. What else could it be?" "Shh," Mama hisses. "Keep it down." Star had the hardest time falling asleep. Uncle Carlos says something, but it's too low for me to hear. I inch closer. "This isn't about black or white," he says. "Bullshit," says Daddy. "If this was out in Riverton Hills and his name was Richie, we wouldn't be having this conversation." "I heard he was a drug dealer," says Uncle Carlos. "And that makes it okay?" Daddy asks. "I didn't say it, but it could explain Brian's decision if he felt threatened." A no lodges in my throat, aching to be yelled out. "Khalil wasn't a threat that night." "And what makes the cop think he was a drug dealer?" "Wait, Brian? That's 115's name?" "Oh, so you know him," Daddy mocks. "I ain't surprised." "He's a colleague." See, I could tell he was a cop. He was using that we word. He's a colleague. All right. So Uncle Carlos is a police officer. Well, that certainly complicates things, right? So how does this change things? How does it? Right, I got to think about that for a second. All right. So Uncle Carlos The mother's brother is a police officer and knows the police officer 115 that killed Khalil. So this is no longer a simple story of like good and bad and right and wrong and who's yeah, because now Uncle Carl, that's close to her. This is going to change this story. All right, I got to keep reading. He's a colleague, yes, and a good guy, believe it or not. I'm sure this is hard on him. Who knows what he was thinking at the time? You said it yourself. He thought Khalil was a drug dealer, Daddy says, a thug. Why he assumed that, though? What? By looking at Khalil? Explain that, detective. And I think this is definitely about Khalil. I'm going to start labeling Khalil with green, right? So this is Khalil characterization, right? She's showing us through the thoughts of others, right? That Khalil was potentially perceived by the police department as a drug dealer and a thug. And like, so then what does a thug mean, right? What is a thug? Why was he assumed that though, right? Okay, silence. Why was she even in the car with the drug dealer? Uncle Carlos asks. Lisa, I keep telling you, you need to move her and Sakani out of this neighborhood. It's poisonous. I've been thinking about it. And we're not going anywhere, Daddy says. Maverick, she's seen 2 of her friends get killed, Mama says. 2! And she's only 16. And one was at the hands of a person who's supposed to protect her. What do you think? You live next door to them? They'll treat you different? Why does it always have to be about race with you? Uncle Carlos asks. Other races aren't killing nearly as much as we're killing ourselves. Negro, please. If I kill Tyrone, I'm going to prison. If a cop kills me, he's getting put on leave. Maybe. You know what? There's no point having this conversation with you, Uncle Carlos says. Will you at least consider letting Star speak to the detectives handling the case? We should probably get her an attorney first, Carlos, Mama says. That's not necessary right now, he says. And it wasn't necessary for that cop to pull the trigger, says Daddy. You really think we're going to let them talk to our daughter and twist her words around because she doesn't have a lawyer? Nobody's going to twist her words around. I told you, we want the truth to come out too. Oh, we know the truth, and that's what we want, says Daddy. We want justice. We want justice. This is sounding like, this is giving me the schema connection, right, of Black Lives Matter. Sounds like Black Lives Matters. Uncle Carlos sighs. Lisa, the sooner she talks to the detectives, the better. It will be a simple process. All she has to do is answer some questions. That's it. No need to spend money and get an attorney just yet. Frankly, Carlos, we don't want anyone to know Star was there, Mama says. She's scared. I am too. Who knows what's going to happen? I get you, but I assure you that she'll be protected. If you don't trust the system, can you at least trust me? I don't know, says Daddy, can we? You know what, Maverick? I've just about had it with you. You can get out of my house then. It wouldn't even be your house if it wasn't for me and my mom. Y'all stop. Uh-oh. Here's a key detail. Looks like Uncle Carlos helped financially at some point. I know from my schema, right, that when someone's giving you money, that can money can like have a hold on you and create conflict, right? It can create conflict. So, and here it is, creating conflict. Y'all stop, Mama says. I shift my weight, and goddamn if the floor doesn't creak, which is like sounding an alarm. Mama glances around the kitchen doorway and down the hall, straight at me. Star, baby, what you doing up? Now I have no choice but to go to the kitchen. The 3 of them are sitting around the table, my parents in their pajamas and Uncle Carlos in some sweats and a hoodie. Hey, baby girl, he says. We didn't wake you up, did we? No, I say, sitting next to Mama. I was already awake. Nightmares. All of them looked sympathetic, even though I didn't say it for sympathy. I kind of hate sympathy. What were you doing there? Asked Uncle Carlos. Sakani has a stomach bug and begged me to bring him home. And your uncle was just getting ready to leave, Daddy adds. Uncle Carlos's jaw twitches. His face has gotten rounder since he made detective. He has Mama's high yellow complexion, as Nana calls it, and when he gets mad, his face turns deep red, like now. See, I'm getting details with his looks, right? So he's getting rounder. Maybe he's, moving less, eating more. Life is easier than it was at some point, right? And then, he's light skinned, and that can create, I have enough schema to know that that can create conflict in the Black community to have, there's some division there sometimes. So I'm wondering what clues about his physical appearance, because that can also impact what a character's like. And I'm still trying to figure out who is Uncle Carlos. He's a police officer. He's helped out Maverick financially. He's sounds pretty conservative in his thinking, right? And he's voicing that side of conservative. He is more conservative in his thinking. So I just have to think this out. All right, I'm going to keep that going. I'm sorry about a Khalil baby girl, he says. I was just telling your parents how the detectives would like for you to come in and answer a few questions. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to, Daddy says. You know what? Uncle Carlos begins. Stop, please, says Mama. She looks at me. Munch, do you want to talk to the cops? I swallow. I wish I could say yes, but I don't know. On the one hand, it's the cops. It's not like I'll be telling just anybody. On the other hand, it's the cops. One of them killed Khalil. But Uncle Carlos is a cop, and he wouldn't ask me to do something that would hurt me. Will it help Khalil get justice, I ask. Uncle Carlos nods. It will. Will 115 be there? Who? The officer. That's his badge number, I say. I remember it. Oh, no, he won't be there. I promise. It'll be okay. Uncle Carlos's promises are guarantees, sometimes even more than my parents. He never uses that word unless he absolutely means it. Right? I'm getting more characterization based on her prior experience. He is a steady force in her life. He is constant and something she can rely on. Someone she can rely on. Okay, I say, I'll do it. Thank you. Uncle Carlos comes over and gives me 2 kisses to my forehead, the way he's done since he used to tuck me in. Wait, since he used to tuck me in. I'm curious. That popped out at me. When was that? Why did he used to tuck her in? He said, just bring her after school on Monday. It shouldn't take too long. Mama gets up and hugs him. Thank you. She walks him down the hall toward the front door. Be safe, okay? And text me when you get home? Yes, ma'am. Sounding like our mama, he teases. Whatever, you just better text me. Okay. Good night. Mama comes back to the kitchen, pulling her robe together. Munch, your father and I are visiting Miss Rosalie in the morning instead of going to church. You're welcome to come if you want. Yeah, Daddy says. And ain't no uncle pressuring you to go. Mama cuts him a quick glare, then turns to me. So you think you're up for it, Star? Talking to Miss Rosalie may be harder than talking to the cops, honestly. But I owe it to Khalil to pay his grandmother a visit. She may not even know I was a witness to the shooting. If she somehow does and wants to know what happened, more than anybody, she has the right to ask. Yeah, I'll go. We better find her an attorney before she talks to the detectives, Daddy says. Maverick, Mama says, if Carlos doesn't think it's necessary just yet, I trust his judgment. Plus, I'll be with her the entire time. Good thing somebody trusts his judgment, says Daddy. And you really been thinking about moving? We discussed this already. Maverick, I'm not going there with you tonight. How are we going to change anything around here if we... Maverick, she says through gritted teeth. Whenever Mama breaks a name down like that, you'd better hope it's not yours. I said I'm not going there tonight. She side-eyes him, waiting for the comeback. There isn't one. Try and get some sleep, baby, she tells me, and kisses my cheek before going to their room. Daddy goes to the refrigerator. You want some grapes? Yeah. How come you and Uncle Carlos always fighting? 'Cause he a buster. He joins me at the table with a bowl of white grapes. But for real, he ain't never liked me. Thought I was a bad influence on your mama. Lisa was wild when I met her, though, like all them other Catholic school girls. So here's a clue. They've known each other since high school. And Carlos was always thought Maverick was a bad influence. Okay, so this conflict goes back really far. I bet he was more protective of Mama than Seven is with me, huh? Oh yeah, says Carlos. So he says Carlos acted like he was Lisa's daddy. When I got locked up, wait, I missed something. When I got locked up, this is important. He moved y'all in with him and blocked my calls. Oh, no wonder he used to tuck her in. Even took her to a divorce attorney. He grins. Still couldn't get rid of me. All right, so now I have my answer. So Carlos acted like Star dad while Maverick was in jail. And he probably, because he's a cop, judges Maverick's incarceration, right? And he probably has all kinds of thoughts about what that means, right? Whereas Maverick's, having been incarcerated, he's going to be more more understanding of how unfair it is that people get put in there a lot of times. All right. I was 3 when Danny went in prison, 6 when he got out. He spent 3 years. All right. I have no idea what could get you in for 3 years, but a lot of my memories include him, but a lot of my first don't. First day of school, the first time I lost a tooth, the first time I rode a bike without training wheels. In those memories, Uncle Carlos's face is where Daddy should have been. I think it's the real reason they're always fighting. Yeah, I think you're right, Star. Daddy drums the mahogany surface of the dining table, making a thump, thump, thump beat. The nightmares will go away after a while, he says. They're always the worst right after. All right, Maverick's telling us that he also has been traumatized. That's how it was with Natasha. How many people have you seen die? Enough. Worst one was my cousin Andre. His finger seems to instinctively trace the tattoo on his forearm, an A with a crown over it. A drug deal turned into a robbery, and he got shot in the head twice, right in front of me. A few months before you were born, in fact. That's why I named you Star. He gives me a small smile. My light during all that darkness. Daddy chawns on some grapes. Don't be scared about Monday. Tell the cops the truth and don't let them put words in your mouth. God gave you a brain, you don't need theirs. Oh wait. This is a signpost I haven't taught y'all. Let's do it pink. We'll read it again. I'll teach you the signpost. Don't be scared about Monday. Tell the cops the truth. You don't let them put words in your mouth. God gave you a brain, you don't need theirs. And remember that you didn't do nothing wrong. The cop did. Don't let them make you think otherwise. All right. This is a signpost that we call the words of the wiser. I spotted it right away because it's when Dad got into that advice voice, right? Where he says, don't be scared about Monday, tell the cops the truth. He's telling her something to do, right? So words of the wiser are like that. It's when an older and wiser character tells your main character something that's like, I'm pulling you to the side to tell you this thing, kid. And so the question you want to ask yourself is always going to be, why did they say that, and how is that going to impact the story, right? So let me think about this before I move on. Okay, so he's really pointing out to her, don't make them make you think otherwise. He's concerned, right, that he is distrustful of the police and the system, and he doesn't think that he sees that they sometimes twist stories around. It makes me, honestly, it brings up the schema of the Central Park Five, and that whole series where we really got to see just how extremely corrupt some police systems are, right? And how they really do twist people's words around. So this idea of the truth, right? And I think this chapter is really showing us these two views, right? Uncle Carlos is the view of the police officer, and Khalil looked like a thug, and so that's what happened. And Maverick is really the Maverick, like his name suggests, right? He's always thinking differently and pushing a different agenda. So this words to the wiser, I think I need to stop and remember that. And I think maybe that's going to be part of what this book is about Star figuring out how to think for herself. Okay, I got a theory. All right, something's bugging me. I wanted to ask Uncle Carlos, but I couldn't for some reason. Daddy's different, though. While Uncle Carlos somehow keeps impossible promises, Daddy keeps it real with me. You think the cops want Khalil to have justice, I ask? Thump, 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 thump. The truth casts a shadow over the kitchen. People like us in situations like this become hashtags, but they rarely get justice. I think we will all wait for the one time, though, that one time when it ends right. Maybe this can be it. I don't know, Daddy says. I guess we'll find out. All right, she's evoking our schema again, right? Because she's making us think again about the Black Lives Matters movement. Sunday morning, we pull up at a small yellow house. Bright flowers bloom below the front porch. I used to sit with Khalil on that porch. My parents and I hop out of the truck. Daddy carries a foil-covered pan of lasagna that Mama made. Sakani claims he's still not feeling good, so he stayed home. Seven's there with him. I don't buy this sick act, though. Sakani always gets some kind of bug right as spring break ends. Going up Miss Rosalie's walkway floods me with memories. I have scars tattooed on my arms and legs from falls on this concrete. One time I was on my scooter and Khalil pushed me off because I hadn't given him a turn. When I got up, the skin was missing from most of my knees. I never screamed so loud in my life. We played hopscotch and jumped rope on his walkway too. Khalil never wanted to play at first, talking about how those were girls' games. He always gave in when me and Natasha said the winter got a freeze cup, frozen Kool-Aid in a styrofoam cup, or a pack of Nihilators, aka Now and Laters. Miss Rosalie was the neighborhood candy lady. I was at her house almost as much as I was at my own. Mama and Miss Rosalie's youngest daughter, Tammy, were best friends growing up. When Mama got pregnant with me and she was in her senior year of high school and Nana put her out of the house, Miss Rosalie took her in until my parents eventually got an apartment of their own. Mama says Miss Rosalie was one of her biggest supporters and cried at her high school graduation like it was her own daughter walking across the stage. 3 years later, Miss Rosalie saw Mama and me at Wyatt's. This was way before it became our store. She asked my mom how college was going. Mom told her that Daddy was in prison. She couldn't afford daycare and that Nana wouldn't take care of me because I wasn't her baby and therefore I wasn't her problem. So Mama was thinking about dropping out. Miss Rosalie told her to bring me to her house the next day and that she better not say a word about paying her. She babysat me and later Sakani the whole time Mama was in school. Oh, this woman. All right, I just got to stop right here and just review Miss Rosalie and give her my favorite color because this woman is wonderful. So Miss Rosalie kind of adopted Lisa, the mom, right? And she babysat. So Lisa could finish college. That's huge, taking care of somebody else's children is really that's loving and it's a lot of work. And people get paid for it usually, and she wouldn't let herself get paid. She was selfless and kind and generous and really sounds very loving. God, and she lost her. Oh, this is so sad. Let's read more. Mama knocks on the door, rattling the screen. Miss Tammy answers in a head wrap, t-shirt and sweatpants. She unhooks the locks, hollering back, Maverick, Lisa and Star are here, Ma. The living room looks just like it did when Khalil and I played hide and seek in it. There's still plastic on the sofa and recliner. If you sit on them too long in the summer while wearing shorts, the plastic nearly glues to your legs. Hey, Tammy girl, Mama says, and they hug long and hard. How you doing? I'm hanging in there, Miss Tammy hugs Daddy, then me. Just hate that this is the reason I had to come home. It's so weird looking at Miss Tammy. She looks the way Khalil's mama, Miss Brenda, would look if Miss Brenda wasn't on crack. A lot like Khalil. Same hazel eyes and dimples. One time, Khalil said he wished Miss Tammy was his mama instead so he could live in New York with her. I used to joke and tell him she didn't have time for him. I wish I never said that. Where you want me to put the lasagna, Tam? Daddy asked her. In the refrigerator if you can find room, she says, as she heads toward the kitchen. Mama said folks brought food all day yesterday. They were still bringing it when I got here last night. Seems like the whole neighborhood has stopped by. That's the garden for you, Mama said. If folks can't do anything else, they'll cook. So right here, we've got a piece of setting, right? Just a nice noticing. You ain't ever lied, Miss Tammy motions to the sofa. Y'all have a seat. Mama and I sit down, and Daddy comes back and joins us. Miss Tammy takes the recliner, and Miss Rosalie usually sits in. She gives me a sad smile. Star, you know you sure have grown since the last time I saw you. You and Khalil both grew up so. Her voice cracks. Her voice cracks. Mama reaches over and pats her knee. Miss Tammy takes a deep breath and smiles at me again. It's good to see you, baby. We know Miss Rosalie's going to tell us she's fine, Tam, Daddy says. But how's she really doing? We're taking one day at a time. Chemo's working, thankfully. I hope I can convince her to move in with me. That way I can make sure she's getting her prescriptions. She sighs through her nose. I had no idea Mama was struggling like that. I didn't even know she'd lost her job. You know how she is, never want to ask for help. What about Miss Brenda, I asked. I have to. Khalil would have. I don't know, Star. Bren, that's complicated. We haven't seen her since we got the news. Don't know where she is. If we do find her, though, I don't know what we'll do. I can help you find a rehab facility near you, Mama says. She's going to want to get clean, though. She's got to want to get clean, though. Miss Tammy nods. And that's the problem. But I think this will either push her finally to get help or push her over the edge. I hope it's the former. Cameron holds his grandma's hand and he leads her into the living room like she's the queen of the world in a housecoat. She looks thinner, but strong for somebody going through chemo and all of this. A scarf wrapped around her head adds to her majesty, an African queen, and we're blessed to be in her presence. All right, so this physical look of Miss Rosalie is really nice characterization, right? I get a really clear picture in my head. Are you using that reading strategy, right? That creating images? You know, I actually have aphantasia, which means my mind is really blank, but I can remember what other people have looked like. So when I see this, the first thing I get is this image of a woman in a housecoat and how he's guiding her. And I remember my my former mother-in-law would wear a housecoat and had that look to her. And I can remember her being cared for like that. And I also know a lot of women who wear headscarves. And so I can imagine what that looks like, and that, you know, solidifies this idea that she looks really regal, right? The rest of us stand. Mama hugs Cameron and kisses one of his chubby cheeks. Khalil called him chipmunk because of them, but he'd check anybody stupid enough to call his little brother fat. Daddy gives Cameron a palm-up slap that ends in a hug. What's up, man? You okay? Yes, sir. A big, wide smile spreads across Miss Rosalie's face. She holds her arms out, and I walk into the most heartfelt hug I've ever gotten from somebody who's not related to me. Oh, a good hug. I miss a good hug. There's not any sympathy in it either, just love and strength. I guess she knows I need some of both. Miss Rosalie sounds amazing. My baby, she says. She pulls me back and looks at me, tears brimming in her eyes. Went and grew up on me. She hugs my parents, too. Miss Tammy lets her have the recliner. Miss Rosalie pats the end of the sofa closest to her, so I sit there. She holds my hand and rubs her thumb across the top of it. She says. It's like my hand is telling her a story and she's responding. She listens to it for a while, then says, I'm so glad you came over. I've been wanting to talk to you. Yes, ma'am. I say what I'm supposed to. You were the very best friend that boy ever had. This time I can't say what I'm supposed to. Miss Rosalie, we weren't as close. I don't care, baby, she says. Khalil never had another friend like you. I know that for a fact. I swallow. Yes, ma'am. The police told me that you were the one with him when it happened, so she knows. Yes, ma'am. I'm standing on the track, watching the train barrel toward me, and I tense up and wait for the impact, the moment she asked what happened. But the train shifts to another track. Maverick, he wanted to talk to you. He wanted your help. Daddy straightens up. For real? Uh-huh. He was selling that stuff. Something leaves me. I mean, I kind of figured it, but to know it's the truth, this hurts. But I swear I want to cuss Khalil out. How could he sell the very stuff that took his mama from him? Did he realize that he was taking somebody else's mama from them? Hmm. Did he realize that if he does become a hashtag, some people will only see him as a drug dealer? He was so much more than that. But he wanted to stop, Miss Rosalie says. He told me, Grandma, I can't stay in this. Mr. Maverick said it only leads to two things, the grave or prison, and I ain't trying to see either. He respected you, Maverick, a lot. You were the father he never had. I can't explain it, but something leaves Daddy too. His eyes dim and he nods. Mom rubs his back. I tried to talk some sense into him, Miss Rosalie says, but this neighborhood makes young men deaf to their elders. The money part didn't help. He was going around here paying bills, buying sneakers in mess, but I know he remembered the things you told him over the years, Maverick, and that gave me a lot of faith. I keep thinking, if only he had another day or Miss Rosalie covers her trembling lips. Miss Tammy starts for her, but she says, I'm okay, Tam. She looks at me. I'm happy he wasn't alone. But I'm even happier you were with him. That's all I need to know. Don't need details, nothing else. Knowing you were with him is good enough. Like Daddy, all I can do is nod. But as I hold Khalil's grandma's hand, I see the anguish in her eyes. His little brother can't smile anymore. So what if people end up thinking he was a thug and never care? We care. Khalil matters to us, not the stuff he did. Forget everybody else. Oh. Mama leans across me and sets an envelope in Miss Rosalie's lap. We want you to have that. Miss Rosalie opens it and I catch a glimpse of a whole lot of money inside. What in the world? Y'all know I can't take this. Yes, you can, Daddy says. We ain't forgot how you kept starring Sakani for us. We weren't about to let you be empty-handed. And we know y'all trying to pay for the funeral, Mama says. Hopefully that'll help. Plus, we're raising money around the neighborhood too, so don't you worry about a thing. Miss Rosalie wipes a new set of tears from her eyes. I'm gonna pay y'all back every penny. Did we say you had to pay us back? Daddy asks. You focus on getting better, aight? And if you give us any money, we're giving it right back. God's my witness. There was a lot more tears and hugs. Miss Rosalie gave me a freeze cup for the road, red syrup glistening on the top. She always makes them extra sweet. Oh. As we leave, I remember how Khalil used to run up to the car when I was about to go, the sun shining on the grease lines that separated his cornrows. The glimmer in his eyes would be just as bright. He'd knock on the window, I'd let it down, and he'd say with a snaggletooth grin, "See you later, alligator." Back then, I'd giggle behind my own snaggle teeth. Now I tear up. Goodbyes hurt, and most when the other person's already gone. I imagine him standing at my window, and I smile for his sake. After a while, crocodile. Mm. This is all Khalil, all Khalil's characterization. And you see, he's a fictional character, but I got all verklempt, all emotional just thinking about it. So hopefully you enjoyed that and answer the rest of the questions. Bye.